What if the biggest limitation placed on your life wasn't your diagnosis, but other people's expectations of you? In the late 90s, Roman Perkins was diagnosed with Hurler syndrome, an incredibly rare condition. His family was told that he likely wouldn't live into adulthood. The condition can affect nearly every part of the body, from vision, hearing, your heart, mobility, and even cognitive development. And because of that, many people wrongfully assumed there would be limits on what Roman could achieve. But today, Roman is living well beyond the expectancy he was once given. He's a college graduate with a degree in psychology, an advocate, and somebody who is redefining what people believe is possible. Welcome to What It's Really Like. I'm your host, Molly Burke. This is the show where we go beyond assumptions and we have honest conversations with people whose lived experience challenge the way we see the world. Because when we understand each other better, we build compassion, bridge divides, and realize that we have more in common than we think. In this conversation, Roman shares what it's really like growing up with a rare disease, navigating the physical and cognitive challenges that come with it, and finding confidence in a world that often underestimated him. We also talk about what it's like to outlive the expectations placed on you, the importance of finding genuine friendship and community, and why feeling seen and understood can be just as powerful as any milestone. Roman's story is one of resilience, purpose, and the incredible impact of believing in somebody's potential before they have the chance to prove it. Now, let's get into what it's really like. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of What It's Really Like with me, your host, Molly Burke. We have such an exciting guest here today named Roman Perkins. And for those who don't know you, Roman, who are you?
Well, I'm originally from the Bay Area, and I moved to Orange County to study psychology at Chapman University. I'm also a survivor of the Hurler syndrome, which no one thought I could overcome with the expectations. Because it's with Hurler syndrome, no one's expected to survive, even though they have other obstacles as of hearing, speaking, and vision. Then there's also comes with learning disabilities as well.
When were you diagnosed with Hurler syndrome?
When I was about 3 months old.
So your family had no idea until 3 months old. So what were the first symptoms that people started to notice?
One of the first symptoms was the backbone was looking weird. So my dad we went to a pediatrician to see what's going on. And they weren't too sure, but the condition keeps happening over time. So we went to UCSF, and they discovered it with and the way I overcame it's not cured, but to treat it, we did a bone marrow transplant.
Hurler syndrome, from what I've researched, the little research I've done, seems extremely rare. And in many cases, people don't survive past, their childhood. So that must have been a really jarring diagnosis for your family to receive when you were just 3 months old. And it was around 10 months old that you received the bone marrow transplant, correct?
Correct.
And was that kind of a hope that it would stop the progression? What was the hope from that bone marrow transplant?
The goal of the treatment is just for survival.
To hopefully extend your life expectancy.
Yes.
And, I mean, clearly it did. You're 26 now?
I'm 27 years old.
27 years old. So with a condition with a life expectancy to not be past childhood, to be a college graduate, 27 years old, you've completely defied the odds of your diagnosis. But obviously, with the hopes of that bone marrow transplant, they couldn't have really predicted exactly what it was going to look like. So year over year, through your childhood, they're not necessarily sure what's going to happen.
What's going to happen now is I still have to go through operations over time. As of with my vision, I had to do a corneal transplant just because the cornea is getting too cloudy.
When somebody has Hurler syndrome, what are the symptoms and how does it manifest in the body?
When I was born with it growing up, I had learning disabilities. So I had to to have an IEP in school, which it also came with a challenge as well, because I knew I could do the task needed to graduate high school, but I was being underestimated by being put in special ed classes. But all it takes was extra support.
Mm-hmm.
As of, I need, because with my hearing disability and also vision, I can't see the board clearly or hear the teachers clearly. So I need a note taker to get me accurate notes that's being taught. Then also it takes me a while to learn the concept being taught. So I need to be okay with the teacher. I'm going at my own pace to learning.
I often feel like being a disabled person, one of my biggest barriers is being underestimated. To your point, it's not that I can't do something, it's that people's expectations of me are so low that I'm not even given an opportunity to show what I'm really capable of. And I think that's a frustrating thing that many of us in the disability community face, is such low expectations that the bar is set so low, and we're congratulated simply for doing basic tasks every day, that we're not even given the grace to go beyond that. For you growing up, what was it like beyond just the education side of school? What was it like socially?
Socially, it was honestly hard. Just because I'm so different from other people, I didn't exactly fit in with the group. So I would sometimes reach out to people. Like, I would recommend some activities we could do, but I either get no response or a response saying, sorry, I'm busy. But then later on, I'll be like, hey, are you able to do something then? Then they still come with the excuse, sorry, I'm busy then. So I just felt more on my own socially.
I experienced a lot of bullying growing up, and I feel like it always surprises me when people are surprised that I, as a disabled person, was bullied, because for me, like, I know so many of my disabled peers were also bullied, because when you're the person that's different, you become a very easy target for people. And there's very obvious outward bullying, but I think people neglect to realize that isolating somebody is also a form of bullying. Like, othering somebody and not giving somebody a chance to be socially integrated, excluding them, is also a form of bullying. So I'm really sorry that you had to go through that, because I know, as somebody who was often socially isolated, how awful that feeling is. Because we know that we have so much to contribute to friendships and to community, but when all people see when they look at us is what we aren't able to contribute or what we lack, it's a very frustrating thing to constantly be up against that. But despite struggles with learning and struggles socially, you did go on to graduate high school, which was already exceeding your life expectancy. And then you went on to pursue college. Can you tell me about your college experience?
College, I wanted to go directly to a 4-year, but since that didn't happen, I'm like, this may be the route that many people take, but maybe it's a different route for myself. So to start there, from high school, I decided to go to the local community college, just because what I acknowledge in community college is, as long as I'm asking for support and the professors know that I want support from them, they're willing to help me out to do better. So then also it's cheaper than 4-year university. If I struggle too much in one class, no big deal. It's not going to be expensive as a 4-year. Just I retake it and call it done and move on to the next courses. So then then after the 4-year, I applied to many colleges that I'd like to go to study psychology. But the reason why I chose psychology is because it's a broad major for all sorts of careers. But then it's another way of understanding people of of their psychological ways to see what's going on. So when I sent out my applications, I got an acceptance from Chapman University. As I got my acceptance, I was excited to move to Orange County because I was born and raised in the Bay Area and I wanted new experiences. And honestly, I love being at Chapman. It was such a fun time. I wish I could redo those times.
I love what you said about if you ask your professors for help, they're going to be there to support you.
Correct.
I think so much of being disabled is learning to advocate for yourself because people don't inherently know how to help us. They don't just automatically know what we need and how to support us because our needs do look different than the average person. And learning to be willing to speak up for yourself is such an important life skill to have. And a lot of people talk about feeling a lot of discomfort around trying to learn how to advocate for themselves and ask for what they need. And I always say the momentary discomfort of asking gives you this long-term benefit of receiving what you need and being able to reach your full potential versus being unwilling to put yourself in that momentary discomfort. You don't ask for what you need, you don't get what you need, and then you're in long-term discomfort because nobody is there giving you the supports you need. So I think that's such an important skill to develop, and I'm really glad that you figured that out and that it supported you. You mentioned that for you, your time at Chapman University is like some of the best years of your life.
Yes.
Was it a combination of like that freedom of moving away from home and getting a bit more independence? Was it that you found a social setting where you felt more accepted? What about those years made them so great for you?
Well, at Chapman, I did have a difficult time finding my social group still. But what I like is no matter which group I jump into to socialize, all of them are accepting, and they're willing to hang out. So so I had all these different people to go around and meet, and they're willing to do something outside of school. Then but also moving to Chapman was a whole new experience to see what's out there besides the Bay Area. And not even the whole Orange County people, but there could be people from different countries, different states, or anybody that's not local in that one school that could socialize with.
I think moving out is scary for most people. Like being a young person and moving out on your own for the first time is a really intimidating, scary experience. But when you add disability to it, there's like a whole other layer of things to consider. You talked about being really excited to move to Orange County and have this new chapter of your life. But was there any fear that you had about living on your own or moving away from family?
I wouldn't say it's a fear. I would say maybe let's see if I can do this on my own. Like don't have any family support yet. Just try something out, and if it doesn't work out, ask the family for support. When uh, if I meet this one person to interact with, and but then I have to ask my brothers if asking this person to do something is too much. Like, am I reaching out to them too much, or do I seem annoying to that person? But if I don't, I just let it go and let them reach out too. But if if I do seem annoying, just move on.
I think a lot of people are afraid of failure. And I like what you said about being willing to just take the risk and say, let me see if I can do it. And if I can't, we'll figure something else out. So many people are scared of that. And the fear of failure stops them from even trying to begin with.
Yeah.
But I think failure is our biggest teacher. Failure is where we learn the most, where we grow the most, where we learn our limits or we find new workarounds for different barriers. So I really love that you said that. I moved out on my own at 18 years old, which was 4 years after I went blind. And I remember being so scared, asking those same questions, like, will I be able to do this? How much help will I need? Who's going to be the person I ask for help? But also being so excited to push myself to do something that a younger version of myself never thought I'd be able to. Um, and, I had this awful experience where I asked my assistant at the time, she was my assistant at work, and I asked her for help with something. And she helped me in that moment, which made me think it was an okay thing to ask for her to help me with. And then she went to our boss and she complained that she shouldn't have to help me with things like that. And for me, being my assistant meant helping with work stuff, but also helping with some life stuff because my assistant and I traveled all over the world together, which means we're not just together in moments of work, we're together with moments of life as well. And so to me, like, I thought it was okay to ask for that support from her and to then get called into my boss's office and I got like reprimanded for asking for that help. And they insinuated that I needed to hire a personal support worker to help me. And I was like, with all due respect, I don't. And I'm not the type of person, like, if I need help with one thing a day, why would I hire somebody to be with me for 12 hours when they can help with one single thing? I think it's so important to remember that we all need a village around us. And the village looks like helping each other. And sometimes as disabled people, we might need help with different things than non-disabled people need help with, or we might need help slightly more often than the average person. But it still just looks like asking the village. The same way that if somebody asked me for support, if a friend or a family member or my fiance asked me to support them with something, I would step up and I would do that. And I think it's frustrating that as disabled people, we even have to question, is me asking somebody to support me with this a burden, or is it too much, or am I being annoying? Um, how did you navigate figuring out who your village was going to be and what level of support you did need or how independent you could be?
Well, one way I've found my village was, I would say it takes patience, just because I can't expect anybody to respond instantly.
Mhm.
So that's the one way to not be annoying. Then, then I always knew part of the village with my brothers, just because they're always on the phone. They understand the situation, or like not situation like difficulties or challenges that could be facing with their experience of living with me growing up as kids. Then I found my village with similar interests too, because maybe not similar interests, but also we have some similarities. As of I used to work at a coffee shop too, meaning well, I mean, because the coffee shop was owned by a special ed teacher who wanted to employ people with disabilities because their employment rate is so low.
Yeah.
And I found that as my village, just because we understand each other
Mhm.
of our own challenges. Without work experience, we got to learn how to interact or communicate with customers and how to uh, build our working skills.
I talked a lot about the unemployment rates in my memoir that I wrote, Unseen. I talked a lot about the kind of trauma that gave me growing up knowing that 80% of blind people were unemployed, feeling like I was up against so much to be able to have a simple opportunity to work and contribute to society and earn my own living and support myself. And yeah, that always felt very scary for me. And I felt like I had to work so much harder than everybody else just to be taken seriously or be given any level of a chance to work. And I think most people, when they become an adult, they're like, I don't want to work. And as a disabled person, I was like, all I want to do is work. Like, I just want an opportunity to work and to show what I can contribute and what I can do, what I'm capable of. When did you get your first job? And did you feel that same kind of fear inside of you around those unemployment rates?
My first job was, I believe that was in 2018. Yeah, 2018 at a burger joint. But that was next door to my house. And I loved that job because I was a busser. But as someone with disabilities, being the busser is just enough for me because all I do is clean tables and interact with people. And I want to be sure their restaurant experience, it, they're satisfied with their own restaurant experiences. But because of me moving for Chapman University, I had to leave. And then when I was at Chapman, I found that coffee shop. I understand that we can make mistakes every now and then, but that's part of the experience to help us grow to be better employees. What was your first job, by the way?
My first job, I was 15 years old, and I was starting to feel that anxiety around the idea that my friends were going to start getting jobs at like a grocery store, or doing the cash register, or at a coffee shop. And I knew that those jobs weren't going to be something I could do as a blind person.
Okay.
I knew that, like, I can't see the numbers on a cash register and there's no screen reader or there's no braille. I can't, bring food to people when I'm working with a guide dog or a cane and trying to carry plates. Like, I just knew there was going to be so many barriers to getting those typical first-time jobs as a teenager. And so I thought to myself that I would offer to volunteer at my local YMCA
Okay.
that I had grown up going to. So I walked in, and I grew up going to summer camp and loving summer camp. So I walked in and I was like, I'm here to get an application to volunteer for summer camp. And the person that was working behind the desk was like, why are you offering to volunteer? Why don't you just apply for a job? And I was kind of taken aback because I was like, well, there's all these reasons that I can't apply for a job. Like, I'm blind.
Yeah.
Because that's like the narrative that I had heard my whole life, right? It was like 80% of blind people are unemployed. And I remember being told by so many different people in the blindness world. And keep in mind, like, this is back in the early 2000s. Times have thankfully changed. But back then I remember being told, like, you could have like one of 3 to 5 jobs, like work at a bank, be a massage therapist, be a therapist, or a lawyer. Like, those were like the opportunities I had. And none of that really felt like me. And so I kind of was so filled with this idea that it was going to be so hard to get a job and there was so many things I couldn't do, that the idea of them even being like, why don't you apply for a job? I was like, because I can't get a job. And they just encouraged me to take the chance and to apply. And so I did. I applied. I went for my interview and they offered me the job. And so I was a camp counselor and I loved it so much. I had so much fun doing it. And the accommodations they made for me were just so simple. Little things like some camps had a single counselor, but other camps had 2 counselors to a group. So they just made sure to put me in a group that had 2 counselors by default. So I was just one of the 2. Um, it wasn't like they gave me a counselor to work with me. I was just put in that position because some camps needed 2. So it was little things like that that just made it work. And my co-counselor would handle a lot of the visual tasks, and I would handle a lot of the like running of activities and things like that. And at the end of the camp season, I actually got offered a job through the school year to work at the rock climbing gym at my YMCA. So a lot of people wouldn't think that a blind person could be a rock climbing instructor. And again, I will admit, I was so filled with my own self-doubt from all of those things that I had been told for so long by society, that when they offered me that job, I was like, I can't belay people at a rock climbing gym. Like, that's so dangerous. People won't trust me. And thankfully, I had such an incredible boss. And he was like, I know you're capable of doing this. It's incredibly tactile. You don't have to see, you just have to feel. And if anybody doesn't trust you, they can climb somewhere else. And I'm so grateful that as a disabled person, that was my first experience with employment, because so many disabled people have the opposite. So many disabled people have the door closed in their face time and time again. And I went on to have plenty of those experiences after this. But I know that if the first handful of times I put myself out there for a job, I had continually gotten the door closed in my face, it becomes really easy to get even more discouraged and give up. But I think because my first experience was so positive, that when I then went on to have those experiences where the door was closed in my face, I knew that I just needed to find somebody like that first boss I had who did believe in me. So I ended up becoming a rock climbing instructor. So I would harness kids up, tie them in, belay them. I would run rock climbing groups for kids, and I loved it. I did that for a couple of years. And unfortunately, I ended up, my boss got switched, and my new boss did not believe in me, despite the fact that I'd had the job for a couple of years, and made my life so miserable, and underestimated me and undervalued me and talked down to me every step of the way until I quit. Um, which again is the experience that unfortunately so many people in our community have when trying to seek employment. And then eventually, when I did go on to get that job at 18, when I moved out and I had a full-time assistant at work, I talk a lot about this in my memoir, but again, I went on to be like so poorly treated that I was like, if this is what work is like, if this is what it's like working for other people, I'm just going to work for myself. Like, I'm just going to start my own business. I'm going to be an entrepreneur, which is not an easy path and was very uncertain. But I knew that my options were either to be employed by people who make my life so miserable and treat me less than, or to live on disability. And if I'm going to live on disability, I might as well try to build a business on the side
Yeah.
while I'm living on disability. And so that's what I did. I got on disability, and, you know, it took a long time for me to build a business that made money, but eventually I started making money and was able to get off of disability and start just like living from the money I was earning with my business, which was incredible. But statistically, what we do see is I believe it's around 80% of disabled people who are employed are self-employed. And it's for those reasons. It's because of facing discrimination in the workplace that, as hard as it is to get the job, you finally get the job, and then every day it feels like a fight, to be valued, to get the accommodations that you need. And it's frustrating. So I ultimately took the path of becoming an entrepreneur, and that's what I've done for 12 years now. Um, but it sounds like your first two work experiences with the burger joint and then the coffee shop were thankfully both really positive. What has been pursuing work like since then?
Well, what do you mean by pursuing work?
Do you still work at the coffee shop?
Oh, no. I, I don't work at the coffee shop anymore because it's on a college campus. And I wanted to grow. So I help out at a gym in Brentwood now. And I do that as a way to connect with new people, because I want to meet the members of the gym and interact with them in hopes for a new job. But working at the coffee shop was great. That's a great college experience job.
You've talked about your brothers a couple of times, and
Yeah,
that they were a big support system for you. Can you tell me about your family dynamics and your life growing up with your brothers?
my brothers are like when growing up, they're the people that I'd go to just to do something, because we always depended on each other in the house. But yeah, we always depend on each other just because we knew they knew that it was a social challenge for me to interact with new people. So like our my older brother also showed me his friends from his grade, because I connect with them too. We would go out for dinner or any other extracurriculars. My parents are also divorced, so I lived full time with my dad, and My dad was also a support system in school meetings, and he didn't like the way that the school teachers would underestimate me. So he insisted that I stay in regular classes just because he believed that I'd that'd be capable of succeeding the work or meeting the expectations that the other teachers don't have. But then when I moved away from college to Chapman University, he decided to move with me, but still stay somewhat distant, just give me that independence. But at the same time, he's close enough to be there in case anything happens. So he just wants to be sure that I'm doing well during my school experiences.
It's so important to have a support system like that. So I'm I'm happy to hear that you had that network at home, even if it was hard outside of the home. I also had an amazing family, and I feel like their support and belief in me is truly the only reason that I am where I am today. Because they really fought for me and advocated when I didn't know how to do that for myself, and they really bent over backwards to show up and support me in ways that I really needed, and it helped push me to achieve things that I think I limited my own beliefs. So I'm really happy to hear that you had that kind of support system. What were activities that you used to like to do? Because I know finding accessible activities, hobbies to enjoy can also be a challenge. Is there anything that you gravitated towards growing up that you found to be more accessible?
Growing up, I loved mixed martial arts and snowboarding because my family and we take trips often to Mammoth Lake. But because I have the weak hip, I always start with an instructor. Just be sure uh, I'm back on my skills from the year before because I can't stay consistent when it's a winter thing.
Mhm.
So after I'm done, or not done, but like complete with my lesson with the instructor, I jump on boarding with my friends or my brothers just so we can experience that together. But then another activity that we do together is mixed martial arts. But we do that just to like mess with each other. Like we do the play fights, but we we build those fighting skills. But we also do it for safety too. Just because we're walking around town by ourselves or something, we have we know how to protect ourselves.
So you did snowboarding?
Snowboarding, yeah.
I'm a big downhill skier. That's like one of my favorite sports. I
Where
love
do you ski?
Mammoth. Mammoth is the only place I've skied in California,
Okay.
but I grew up in Toronto. So I grew up skiing all around Ontario, and then I've skied in Colorado.
Do you ski in Whistler?
I haven't skied in Whistler, but my parents live like 2 hours from Whistler now, and I'm very desperate to try skiing in Whistler.
Whistler's challenging.
I have no doubt I mean, it's one of the most iconic, famous ski places in the world. So if people go from all over the world to ski there, I'm sure it has very good skiing, which means very challenging. But I don't know. I feel I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. I can do like blue blacks and the odd black diamond. Depends on how hard the black diamond. But I can do like
I do green at Mammoth.
nice. I can't remember what I got up to at Mammoth. I think I did a blue black at Mammoth. I started downhill skiing because it was one of the few accessible winter sports we could find growing up in Toronto. And my older brother was a big snowboarder. And
Huh.
I, being the disabled little sister, wanted to be just like my non disabled older brother. And anything he would do, I was like, I want to do that. And my parents, unfortunately, at the time could not find snowboarding for the blind, but they found skiing for the blind. So
Did
I
you have to
started
wear the
skiing.
orange vest when you're in Mammoth?
I did. They did make me wear the stinking orange vest. I don't know how you feel about that.
I never experienced an orange vest.
I don't like wearing the vests. For those who don't know, a lot of disabled skiers, when you're skiing with with a guide or support, a lot of ski resorts will make you wear like a jacket or a vest that announces, like mine always says blind skier in giant letters across my chest and my back so that everybody on the hill knows to avoid me. And like, I don't know, it draws like such attention in a way that I don't want. Like, let me just ski. Let me just that's why my guide is there, is to keep me safe. Growing up, my ski club for the blind did not make us wear that. I had to wear a yellow jacket, but it didn't say anything about me being blind. It was just a yellow jacket that all the blind skiers wore, and then all the guides wore the black and yellow jackets. And we were just like coordinated. We just looked like a team. But it didn't announce that I was a disabled skier. And I feel like in Colorado and in Mammoth, I had to wear the vests. And every time I do, it's like so funny how many people want to stop me and tell me how great I am and how inspiring I am. And it's awesome that you're getting out there. Well done. And like ask me how I'm skiing. And I'm like, let me just have a day where I'm skiing. I don't want to be told I'm inspiring you and that I'm so great for getting out off the couch. I don't know if those kind of like, when people say those things to you, how it makes you feel. But I feel like it goes back to being a child and people having such low expectations for you. When I'm just doing like a normal outdoor activity and people are like praising me for trying, I'm like, I'm just living my life the same way you're living your life. I just live it slightly differently. And it makes me feel like, I don't know, like less than when people praise me. Like my fiance and I went for a hike the other day at Runyon Canyon, and we did like the more difficult one. And we were with a big group, and like he was helping me to navigate and like get up some of the like rocks because it was really steep. And this random person was like, "You guys are so inspiring together." And I was like, we're just hiking, like the same way any partner would help their partner up a steep hill. Like he's just supporting me up the hill. Like we're not inspiring for getting out and hiking.
I just want to walk like normal people.
Yeah, like I just want to live life. I don't want to be told all the time because it makes me feel like, again, you have such low expectations of me that me doing anything is amazing.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, just I'd rather be in the moment of like doing whatever activity I'm doing. Just let me be as is. just just like positive comments can be annoying. Uh, as a positive comment, as in the you're inspiring now. Just throw that out. Just let me do what I'm gonna do.
I feel like when people say that, it's them admitting that they think so little of us. Like it's almost like they don't realize when they say like, "Oh, you're so inspiring," and I'm just doing a normal thing, that what you're saying is like, I didn't think a blind person or I didn't think a disabled person could do a normal thing. Like that's ultimately what that means. And I feel like that's why so many of us in the disability community kind of like recoil when we get those comments, is it's just a reminder that society thinks of us as less than. And we're constantly trying to be out here just being one of them, just being like one with the rest of society, and we keep being othered and put in the corner. You dealt with a lot on your medical journey, the medical side of your journey.
Yeah,
From getting your first bone marrow transplant at 10 months old, what else did your medical treatments entail up till today?
as in like, what do I still have to do? Still do now?
Yeah, what were different treatments and things you experienced growing up until today?
Well, now uh, because my hip gets sore from either when I walk around for so long, I may have to take a break. But also, when I take breaks sitting down, I have to be careful when sitting back up because that may cause my leg to be stiff. So I'll have to still move around after sitting down, just to avoid the stiffness or the sore. So to prevent that from happening, I do physical therapy about twice a week or so, just so I can get some exercises and know how to mm, avoid uh, avoid my legs feeling a bit funny.
And then you also mentioned you've had like cataract.
Yeah, I had cataract 4 years ago on my left eye. And that was a, that was a side effect of the corneal transplant. Because the reason why I had a corneal transplant is because the cornea is getting too cloudy. So the doctor performed the he performed the transplant to get a clearer vision, and over time, my vision got blurry again. And I'm like, what is going on? I thought the transplant helped my vision, but I was not aware that the cataract is a side effect. So I had to go through another operation just to clear up the cataract portion. And about a month ago, I had another transplant, but on my right eye. But the right eye is a partial corneal transplant, and I don't know, I don't really like the partial one because the week after, when I did my weekly checkup, the doctor found fluid stuck in my eye, so she had to stick a needle
Oof.
to drain it, and that was very uncomfortable because the day after, I had to lay on my bed for a whole 24 hours with my head up just to be sure the cornea can fit my eye right. And so all that got done, but soon I should be expecting another cataract operation for the left eye or right eye.
A needle in my eye is something I hope to never experience.
Well,
That sounds very uncomfy.
yeah, because what happened is she didn't numb it enough. So I was literally screaming at her in the doctor's office.
Oh, awful. Growing up with eye stuff my whole life, I can't even imagine. That sounds awful. I feel like when you experience a lot of medical intervention from a very young age, especially in your formative years, it can go one of two ways. You either become like very traumatized and anything medical stresses you out and gives you anxiety, or you become completely immune and nothing ever bugs you. I went, unfortunately, the way of being traumatized and being scared of medical stuff. What is it like for you? Are you like easy peasy, not a problem, or
for
does it
me,
give you
it's
anxiety?
easy peasy, not a problem. But I just don't like people uh, questioning me as of, can you see? Is your leg bugging you? Uh, just don't ask me questions. Just let me be. If it bugs me, I'll tell you.
Mm-hmm. I feel the same way about people like stepping in to do things for me. Like, if I need help, I'll ask you, but don't just assume and step in and do it for me. Because
Yeah.
when you do that, you're stopping me from being independent and you're stopping me from trying new things and from learning how to do things on my own. The more you step in and just do them for me. Hurler syndrome can impact lots of different elements of the body. It can impact, eyes, hearing, mobility,
The brain.
learning, speech, and you've been affected by multiple different elements. What for you is the one that impacts you the most? What is the most challenging part of living with Hurler syndrome for you?
Well, for now, uh, I would like to say the vision, because I don't like depending on ride shares.
Mm.
Because what if I'm in a hurry to go somewhere, but when I request a ride on Uber, it'll tell me it's a 20-minute wait. And so then I may not be patient enough to wait for that 20 minutes. But when I cancel it hoping for a shorter time, Uber gives me another ride, but it's longer than the original wait time. Then what also happens when I'm waiting for Ubers is they they say they don't allow dogs in their car. And I'm like, yeah, he's allowed, because he's a Labrador mix who helps me with my seizures. You can't stereotype him just because he looks like some breed you don't like, or he's too big or he may shed. He's allowed to go in. But then it caused conflicts between myself and the driver.
Mm-hmm.
So one of us is reporting each other.
Preach, I know it all too well. I feel like anybody who has a disability that impacts their ability to drive, I feel like that is like 9 times out of 10 the thing we will say is the most frustrating about our disability is the inability to drive, the inability to have that autonomy and independence to get where we want to go when we want to go. Um, and nobody bitches more about service dog denials in an Uber than I do. It's one of my biggest pain points in my day. Whenever I have to take an Uber, is that anxiety I have of will I have to get in a fight about my legal right to get in the ride that I am paying you money for. Even though it is not just the ADA law federally, but it is also an Uber and Lyft policy that every single driver ticks I agree to when they sign on to be a driver. It is so incredibly frustrating. So I absolutely hear you on that. And you used to be able to drive. You actually did get your driver's license, correct?
Yeah, I got a driver's license, but it was restricted because my vision was too poor, but the seizures didn't happen yet. So what happened was my license only allowed me to drive through towns and when it's daylight. But because the seizure happened, the whole license got taken away, and that's why I depend 100% on the ride shares now.
When did you get your service dog? Can you tell me a little bit
I
about
got
that
him in
process?
2017, right when I graduated high school, and that actually connects with me not being able to interact with high school kids. Because, like, at least I have this dog I can be with all day and every day.
Mm.
Because he's always excited to see me. He has expectations. He has expectations from me, meaning he expects me to feed him. He expects me to take him out to the bathroom. He expects me to take him out for walks as him and I do something together. Then, so he kept me busy every day. I always had something to do with him.
I completely feel the same way. I got my first service dog when I was 13 years old, and I took her to grade 8 and then to high school with me. And for me, struggling socially, but being a really extroverted person, it was so nice to have a dog with me because I knew, like, even if I'm sitting and eating lunch alone, I have her. And I would literally, like, talk to her like she was my friend. Like, she made me feel so much comfort and safety and security that I was not ever really alone with her next to me. And I feel like it also did open doors socially because so many more people, like, wanted to come over and talk to me and meet my dog and learn about her. And it kind of became, like, an easy way to meet new people compared to, like, just using my cane. So I relate to, like, feeling like it was a good thing socially for me, both just to not feel alone and to meet new people, beyond just the actual guiding work that she did or for you, the medical alert. Did you receive your dog through, like, an organization or did you privately train?
I privately trained him.
What was that process like? Because I'm always amazed by people who privately train because that seems like so much work. How did you decide to privately train and get through that process?
Because we lived in a busy downtown. So it was easy. Because I could just walk to the downtown with him and redo what I'm usually going to do on a daily basis. So with like having it be so repetitive, he knows what he's supposed to be doing. So really no extra training for him just because it's a regular thing for himself.
So did you, like, I mean, I think even just dog training, like, whatever about a service dog, just dog training in general. To me, I'm like, that seems so hard because I've been spoiled by getting all 4 of my dogs fully trained, and they come to me at 2 years old, and they're completely ready to be a guide dog. Um, did you, like, find resources online to
Yeah,
learn how to
I did.
train?
I've had a trainer who helped me as well.
Okay.
But yeah, with so it's just the regular daily basis and the trainer's recommendations.
I think for me, another big support beyond having a service dog has been just having community in general. Like having a community of people with my same lived experience. And even though no two blind people, even two blind people with the same disease, have the same experience fully, um, they certainly understand my life better than sighted or non-disabled people do. But Hurler syndrome is incredibly rare, is much more rare than my rare disease. From my understanding, it impacts 1 in 100,000 people, or 50 new diagnoses in the US each year, which is tiny. Were you able to have access to any community that had Hurler syndrome growing up, or do you have that access today?
I have access today, actually, because we're out diagnosed at UCSF. They hold a study for people with Hurler syndrome at least once a year. But I only see that person uh, at that one time in the study because it's, I think it's about usually just him and I that are at the study in person.
Wow, so it's just the two of you.
Yeah.
That's so wild to grow up not knowing
Yeah, I think he's
anybody.
33 or 34.
What did that feel like growing up not knowing anybody with your same condition?
Well, when I was younger, I didn't really think of it.
Mm.
It's more like just connect with whoever I connect with at school or in extracurriculars. But as I got older, I've been acknowledging it more. And then I'm thinking, this is really different from other people because it's just myself trying to fit in with others. Yeah, I didn't really think of it growing up.
I feel like growing up, we're, our reality is normal to us, right? Like I never told anybody that I couldn't see before I was diagnosed because to me everybody saw the way I saw. Like I didn't know that I wasn't seeing what the rest of the world was seeing. And growing up I thought of myself as normal. I thought of myself as being like everybody else. So it was really hard for me that other people didn't see me that way. And the older I've gotten, the more I look around at the world and I'm like, "Oh, everybody's living a different reality than me." Like the average person who can see, who isn't disabled, is living such a different version of life than the version of life I'm living. And that's a weird realization to have. So I can understand why growing up you didn't really think much of not knowing anybody else with your condition. And then the older you get, you start looking around and you're like, wait a second, everybody's different from me. And it would be nice to have somebody who's the same.
Yeah.
I that's like whenever I hang out with other blind people, I feel so normal. And I realize that's how everybody else feels every day. And that's weird for my brain to wrap its head around because I'm so used to being different than everybody else that when I get to feel normal, it's such a relief. And I'm like, wow, everybody else just feels this level of normal and relief every day. Like they don't know what it's like to feel different in every single room you walk into and to not fit in and for everything you try to interact with for there to be a roadblock. And it's weird to think of a version of your life that would be so much easier than your reality is because you just get so used to your reality. What for you is the biggest blessing of having Hurler syndrome? Is there anything that for you feel that Hurler syndrome has given you?
What I'm grateful for is these thoughts that other people have of saying of them questioning, can he do this or that? But for me, I'm of course I can do it. If I put my mind to it, at least put some effort into doing this, I will overcome those challenges.
How does it feel to be 27 years old, knowing that you have far surpassed your estimated life expectancy?
Well, the journey's not over yet. I still have much to go through. As of uh, within the medical stuff happening, then I also have to figure out what I want to do as a career. Just because it may be an obstacle as of now, but it's going to take some time to get there for the career. But then again, with the medical stuff, I still have corrections with the operations to get where I'm supposed to be.
What is your goal? What is your dream? What do you hope to accomplish?
I'd like to travel around, see what's out there in the world. I like to financially depend on myself, find a way to make myself enough money to live on my own. I want to meet new people, build more social circles. Cause I'm a dog lover, honestly. I want to do some for dogs to be sure they can give them the best life. Cause I don't like the feeling of dogs being strays.
Mm.
So I have much more to accomplish as of now.
Things aren't over. You've already accomplished so much and you have so much ahead of you. I definitely resonate with being a dog lover. I feel like my retirement dream one day is to just have a sanctuary of a ton of animals of all kinds. I'm a big animal lover myself, so I think the mission to support animals is something close to my heart. And I am also a lover of travel. And I think the goal of being financially independent is one that so many in the disability community can resonate with. Um, like I said earlier in this conversation, I hear so many of my friends in their 30s be like, oh my God, I don't want to work. I don't want to go to work. And
But we want to go to work.
we want to go to work.
Just give us something to do.
Yes.
We don't like the feeling of staying home all day, every day.
Exactly. Like it is, as a reminder to everybody listening, working is a privilege. When you get to work and pay your bills, that is a privilege that so many in our community don't have and desperately want. So I really hope that that's something that you can achieve for yourself. It sounds like you've had really good work experience in the past, and I'm excited to see what your future holds. We started this conversation by asking, who is Roman Perkins? And I want to end by asking, what is it really like to be Roman Perkins?
To be Roman Perkins is a great way to for myself, I like sharing my story with other people, just to let others know what I overcame and what I still want to do for the future of myself. Because I still have expectations of what I want to do, but also I don't want to get directly to it. I want to build myself a realistic plan of how to get there.
I love that. I feel like we all compare ourselves to other people. And we look around and we see where everybody else around us is at, and we think, oh, by a certain age, I'm supposed to have gotten married and bought a house and have kids and check all these boxes and be in a certain position with my career. But we all start at different places. So our finish line isn't going to be the same either. And so it's so important to not be looking around at other people and comparing yourself, but to say, this is my path. I don't have to jump to the end. I can enjoy every step in between, and I can slowly build towards the life that I want to have. And I think that you're going to do great things. I've been seeing that you've been posting on social media. Is that a path you want to pursue?
Yeah, because I like spreading kindness as well. So I've been making a TikTok of that, just to show different ways of how we could be kind to each other. And when spreading that kindness it's a great way to connect with more people, or new people.
If there is one thing this world needs right now, desperately, it is more kindness and more compassion and empathy and understanding. And that's what these conversations are all about, is trying to bridge gaps and have conversations that need to be had to create the change. So thank you for being here and for being a part of this and for being willing to be open and have this conversation. Where can people keep up with you? What is your handle? Where can they find you on social media?
On Instagram and TikTok, my social media is Roman Perky, 3 Ys.
Amazing. I am going to have that linked down below for everybody if you want to check it out. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening to this episode, and we'll see you next week. But until then, now you know what it's really like.